Hello, boys and girls. Today's adventure of the Piggly, Wiggly, and Squiggly boys is going down the river. Now, I need to remind you, mamas and papas and mommies and daddies and papa's great-grandparents and mama's great-grandparents and everybody's great parents out there, I need to remind you that this is all from my head. It's never the same, and it's always, I try to be always different, and we never know what's going to happen. Okay, so starting today's adventures. As usual, the boys woke up. Hi, Kathy. And they wanted to know what they were going to have for breakfast, because, you know, breakfast is the most important meal that you can have, according to Mommy Piggy. Well, she said she's going to put them on a diet for breakfast, and she did. Today was the second day they had cereal and milk. But this time, she added some sliced bananas. Now, this GrandMommy would prefer toast with sliced bananas on it, but that's another breakfast. Anyway, they ate and they ate and they thought, what are we going to do today? Now, you notice the three little pigs do not say to their mommy, I'm bored. What can we do today? Tell me something I can do. And then, you know, when mommy always says what you can do, you know, they don't want to do it, right? Well, the three little pigs, they were sweet little pigs, and they never said, what are we going to do? Like they were bored. They always said, what are we going to do today? Well, Mommy Piggy had an idea. She said, we are going to put our swimsuits on, and I am going to pack a lunch. You're going to pack a lunch? What are we going to do? That time, they weren't too excited. And she says, we are going down the river today. Oh, how are we going to do that? Are we going to swim all the way down the river? What are we going to do? And she says, you just wait till we get there. Well, she drove about an hour away from where they lived in the woods, and they came to the river, and there was a great big sign saying, paddle boats for rent. And they said, what's a paddle boat, Mommy? And she says, oh, you just wait and see. So she went up to the man, and she said, I'd like 4 tickets, please. We're going to go on one of your paddle boats. And he says, well, that's a wonderful idea. Have you ever been on one? And she says, well, the boys have never been on one. But she says, I have, but it was many years ago. He says, well, let me come with you to the river, and I will show you and the boys how to do the paddle boat. She says, thank you so much. And he says, that's all right. He says, could you introduce me to your boys? And she said, yes. She says, this is Piggly, and this is Wiggly, and this is Squiggly. And he kind of looked at her kind of funny, Piggly, Wiggly, and Squiggly. Well, those are nice names for you boys. What a nice-looking group you are. And all the boys said, hi, thank you. And so they walked down to the river, and there was this kind of like a pontoon boat, and it had pedals like a tricycle in the middle of it. And the boys are looking at each other, and they're whispering, what is going on? What do we have to do? Does Mommy know how to drive this thing? This has not got a steering wheel on it. How does she know how to do this? And so Mommy Piggy heard him, but she didn't let on that she heard him. And I think the man heard him too, the Mr. Paddleboat man. I think he heard him too, because he kind of winked at Mommy Piggy. And he says, okay, boys, get in the boat. Now, Mama Piggy, do you remember how you paddle this thing? And she says, oh, yes, it's all coming back to me now. And he says, okay. He says, you've paid for 2 hours of a ride, but I'm going to give you an extra hour if you'd like. So it is now 1 o'clock, and so you come back at 4 o'clock. Oh, she says, Mr. Paddleboat Man, that would be so nice. Thank you, so nice. And so they started out, and so she says, now, who's going to sit beside me? And Squiggly says, well, I'm strong, so I'm going to sit on the other side. And that way we can really make the boat move. Is that right, Mom? And Mommy Piggy says, that's right. So Wiggly sat with Mommy Piggy, and Pigly sat with Squiggly. And she says, okay, I'm going to paddle. Now you have to paddle that same direction. So you're going to be paddling backwards. I think this is the way it works. Anyway, they went down the river. Oh my gracious sakes, they were having such a good time. And all of a sudden, they came to an alligator. Well, now, Allie the alligator is one of their best friends, and so the piggies weren't scared of this alligator. But they didn't know if this was a nice alligator like Allie and his mama and his daddy, or was this a fearsome alligator that they need to be scared of. Ooh. So Mommy Piggy says, okay, we're going to be very quiet when we go by. And if he looks at us, we will say, hi, Mr. Alligator, and wave to him. And if he comes over and starts talking to us, then we know that he's a good alligator. Okay. And they went by, and they looked, and they went by very quiet. And he looked at him, and he opened his mouth real big, and he hissed at him. Ooh, did they ever paddle faster? And he didn't follow them, because he knew he had scared him, and he didn't have to worry about him anymore. So they go on down the river. Oh my gracious sakes, over there in the corner, there was 2 deer, 2 little baby deer. Oh, they were so cute looking. They're just so sweet. And Mommy Piggy says, no, they're eating, and I wonder where their mama is. And about that same time, here comes Mama around the corner. And boy, she was looking at that paddle boat. She was watching to make sure that the piggies didn't come over toward her babies. They go on down the river a little bit further, and Mama Piggy says, look up in the top of that tree there. And guess what it was? It was a bald eagle. Oh my heavens, it was so pretty. They went on further down the river, and Squiggly says, Mama, look in that tree. And it was real close to the river. They could see real plain, and you know what it was? It was a big owl, and he had caught a snake. It was a big, long snake, and he had it in his mouth. And he had it draped over this tree branch, and he put 1 foot on it, and he pecked it with his mouth, with his nose, with his hawk, with his, yeah, you know what I mean. And he was trying to kill that snake because he wanted some food. Now, that's kind of hard for you boys and girls to understand, but trust me, it's done, it's doable. So they watched the snake for a while and the owl, and that was really a good lesson. Well, then they came on down the river a little bit further, and all of a sudden they saw a cow pasture. The most prettiest cows in that pasture. They were all black and white cows that gives off really good milk. Those kind of cows do. Oh, is that where we get our milk from, Mommy? And Mommy says, well, I don't know if that's the right dairy or not, but we do get our milk from the black and white cows. Oh, they're so pretty. And they went on down the river a little bit further, and all of a sudden they came to water lilies. Oh, the water lilies were so pretty, and they were little yellow buds, and they were just so beautiful. But sometimes, Mommy Piggy was explaining to the little boys, sometimes it can get too many lilies in there, and it clogs up the river, and then you can't go up and down. But they sure were pretty. So they went on further down the river, and they saw a dock. Now a dock is where the boats tie up, right? So they tied up there because guess what? There was music playing, and there was ice cream and cold drinks. So they tied up their pontoon boat, and they went up the dock and went onto the shore, onto the beach, and they listened to the music for a while, and they got ice cream. Actually, they got root beer floats, and that's real good. So Mommy Piggy looked at her watch, and she says, oh, boys, she says, we have to get back home. Pretty soon it's going to be too late. So let's turn around and go back home. So they got back in the boat, in the paddle boat, and they started pedaling back to where they had started out, and the owl was all gone, so he ate all that snake while they were gone. They didn't see the bald eagle, but they did see another alligator, and guess what? This alligator knew who they were, because you know why? He was a cousin to Allie the alligator. Isn't that something? Would you believe that Allie the alligator had a cousin that lived down the river pretty far away from where the piggies lived? And he knew about Piggly, Wiggly, and Squiggly because he knew that they were really, really, really good friends with Allie. And he was watching because somebody said to him, one of the little birds called out to him and said, I saw 3 pigs go down the river. It was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. And he says, I wonder if that's my cousin's friends. I bet it is. I'm going to sit here and wait till they come back down the river and make sure it's them. And sure enough, it was. So he smiled and he waved his tail and he flashed around and he came up to the boat and he says, hi, are you Piggly, Wiggly, and Squiggly and Mrs. Piggy? And they all said, yes, we are. How do you know who we are? And he says, well, I am Allie the alligator's cousin, and my name is Albert. Well, you could have knocked Mommy Piggy over with a feather. She says, my lands do declare. She says, I did not know that Allie Alligator had a cousin way up here, up north. And Alvin says, not Alvin, what did I say? Albert. Albert says, that's me. He says, glad to meet you. And so they said, glad to meet you too. And they went on rowing and pedaling and pedaling and pedaling and pedaling. And Wiggly says, I'm getting tired, Mommy. And she says, just a little bit further to go now. Come on, you got to help out. You got to help pedal too. And Piggly says, I'm doing good, aren't I? I haven't stopped yet. And about that time, Mommy saw the dock with the sign, renting paddle boats. And she says, I think we've made it, boys. And they pulled into the dock, and Mr. Paddleman comes down, and he says, glad to see you back, Mommy Piggy. Did you have a good time? And Mommy Piggy says, oh, we had the best time ever. And Piggly says, we saw a bald eagle. And Wiggly says, but we saw an owl with a snake in the tree. It was awesome. And Squiggly says, we had root beer floats and listened to music. Well, Mommy Piggy says, and you'll never believe what happened, Mr. Paddleman. And Mr. Paddleman says, what happened? The boys are really good friends with the alligator. And you know what? His cousin lives up here, and his cousin was waiting for us to say hi to us. Isn't that something? And Mr. Paddleman says, well, I don't think I've ever heard of that before. That is something else, Miss Piggy. That's really a great story. And with that, Mommy Piggy put the boys in the car, and off they went back home to have supper. And boys and girls, we will see you Friday, probably 2 o'clock again. Okay? Please tell all your friends to listen in. I know there's a little bit funny stories, weird and strange, but that's just me. So please have everybody tune in, and we will talk to you Friday. Bye-bye.